Hey guys, STX6 here, and today I'm going to be going over fracture maps in Physx XLab and how to use them in UDK. So here's a quick demo that I put together. I'll show you in Physx XLab. I use this little map that I made in Photoshop here. This is so look, before I made it into like a bricky kind of texture, it really was just a bunch of black boxes. And you put this into Physx XLab and it makes it a fracture map. What you can do with that is you can make, if I go into depth 2, it cuts it along the lines, there we go, and it makes kind of like bricks, I guess would be the correct term. I cut this in all kinds of different directions though, so this one went a bit messed up, but I'll quickly show you the demo that I made. So if I play this, okay, so if I shoot this wall here, you see, look, it breaks and it falls along the lines that I made. Apart from, like I said, it was a bit messed up because I used different axes to cut it on, so it doesn't follow every single line, but I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And again, look, and just because I thought it'd be cool, I put a bit of an explosion in there as a fracture material, which I'll go through later on when you get into UDK. So first things first, in Physx XLab we're going to make, I'll tell you what, I'll close that and I'll reopen it just to show you properly. So open up Physx XLab and create a new apex destructible, and just wait for it to load. No surprise. Close that. Right, okay, so once we're here, there's absolutely nothing here. So go to File, and you're going to have to import a 3D mesh that you've already made. So what I suggest is that in something like 3ds Max, you just make a basic rectangle, kind of like a wall, put a texture onto it, and export it out, and remember to embed the media, just so that when you open it up here, it's still got the media onto it. When I did it though, I just made a bit of a wooden wall because I was trying to do something else in UDK, so it doesn't seem quite right, but the texture doesn't get exported into UDK, so it doesn't really matter what texture you've got on here. So anyway, now we're in here, what we want to do is we're going to make sure that we've got a fracture map set up inside of Photoshop. So open up Photoshop and create a new 124 by 24 image, 1024 by 1024, sorry. Wait for that to load. Now set the background to being black. I don't know whether that's necessary. I've just seen everyone else do that, so might as well just stick to that. We'll try a few. First of all, we'll just try a simple brick one. So select the rectangle tool. Make sure you've got no fill and a white stroke line. I've got mine set to 2 pt as the width. So I'm now going to start doing a couple of squares, and then just Ctrl J to copy that layer. I'm going to make the middle one smaller, merge them together. And then just Ctrl J again, Ctrl J, and just like keep dragging this out, and then it goes off the edge, but still just do that one as well. Okay. Then I'm going to merge these all together. Just merging them means that I can just keep, it just makes me do it all faster when I copy one layer. So for this one, in case you haven't seen walls, they tend to have like every other layer seems to be the same, but the one in between is a bit different. So it looks a bit like that, kind of. So if we just do that, what I mean by that is this end, you've got the right hand side goes off, but then on the second one the left hand side goes off. So that's all I mean, so that makes that slightly different. Just going to merge them again. My computer's been really slow recently. And then just copy this and just keep copying this now. Control J. Just keep dragging it down. Oops. Ah. Something has happened that should not have happened. Stop. Oh dear. Right, anyway, yep, keep on going. And once again, just go over the edge. See, that's actually quite good, that, because on mine the white line at the bottom is almost perfectly on the end. So I'm just going to merge all them together. Not with the background though, because I'll show you why in a minute. And what the hell has happened there? That's not quite right. For some reason merging them together didn't work very well, and it deleted half of my... I wonder why it's doing that. Oh, I'll just leave that for now then, I won't bother merging any of them. So anyway, you need to save this out. You want to put it in a folder where you put in all the rest of your things, such as your mesh that you're going to be using, and all your other textures and stuff that you're going to be importing, and you want to save it as a BMP or a bitmap image. And as you can see, I've already saved one here as fracmat1, as in fracture material. I'm going to set this as 2, so I'm going to save that. I'm saving it as Windows 24-bit. 32-bit is the highest quality. It doesn't really matter, it's just a waste of space really if you're doing something as plain as this. Hit OK. Now once you've done that, go back into Physx XLab, and we're going to select the cutout mode. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the just underneath the cutout settings. You'll start to see all this view and enable and map size kind of options, and what we're going to do is we're going to select the view as, I think it was +Y. +Y, and set enable minus y and enable -x. So that means that it's only going to cut that kind of, it's only going to cut down the middle and not the direction that was -x. I don't really know how else to put it. Now as you can see, I'm just going to show you here. If you can see, by default the cutout line is like halfway between the shape. Now what this means, it's going to mean the front half here will fracture and the back half won't. So if you want the whole thing to fracture, then down here where it says thickness, you're going to want to set that to 100%. So that means the whole thing will be fractured. But say you only wanted the front like 10%, then there you go, say it's 10% and only the first little bit will fracture. But I think I'm going to set mine to being the whole thing this time, because I haven't done that yet. We'll see what happens. And where's this? Backface noise. If you haven't got this set to 100%, like if you've got it set to being 50, you can change these, and what it does is it kind of gives you, rather than a straight line down, it gives you more of like a curve. But once again, I'm setting mine to being 100, so I don't need that. Anyway, so now the main thing is to get our fracture map in. So you click on this great big box here, direct it to the folder where your fracture map is. So I'll show you from my desktop. So if I go to my desktop, mine will be in game dev, destruction test, and then mine is fracture map 2. So I double click on that, and now if you see, the mesh that is imported has got my fracture mat on it, and this will show you how it will be sliced. So with that being done. That's pretty much it. We just click fracture and just wait for it to fracture. Shouldn't take very long. Okay, see, look, that's now fractured. Now we've got 2 layers of preview depth. So we click 0, that is our original mesh. And look, if I show you with the click tool, this is the whole thing. Preview depth 1 is, because I've set mine to being 100% width, mine's still the whole thing. But if you set it to being 50%, then you'd have 2 objects. You'd have the front half and the back. Or if you were cutting it down the middle, it'll be left and right, or something like that. And then preview depth 2, this is where I've got all my bricks. So using the explode tool, if I drag it out, you can see that my mesh has now been cut like the bricks, just like I asked it to. So if I put it all back together at 0, and then obviously explode it all at 2. Anyway, so we've exploded it, we've fractured it how we want. We're now just going to click File, Export Asset, and we're going to do it as an Apex Destructible Asset binary. This is the only thing that seems to get loaded into UDK, and, well, that actually works. And you must be using the most recent version of UDK if you're using the most recent version of Physx X Lab. So with this being done, I'm just going to save this as, I'm just going to save this over brick wall. So save that. Don't worry about that, just click yes and yes. So now that's been exported, go back into UDK. I just need to delete these, otherwise it'll probably end up freezing it. Okay, so delete any ones that you've already got in there. Go into your content browser. Now I've already set up a folder for mine, but you probably wouldn't have. So I'm going to go into my folder here, and look, as you can see, mine's already there, but I'm just going to go to import, and then navigate to where you exported yours out. So again, mine's in game dev, destruction test, and then mine was brickwall.apb. So double click that, and then select a package. If you want to put it in a group, then put it in a group. So I'm going to call this meshes, name brick wall test, just so it doesn't collide with the other one. Select OK. So here you go, look, I've got brick wall test now, and like I said, the material doesn't always get imported with it. That's not really a problem, because now you can import your material that you want to use. So if you want, go into Photoshop like I did last time, what you can just do is set this to all be in red instead. So because there's no background on all these lines, what you could just do is set the overlay on this to be in red, and there you go, look, it sets it to being like a brick. So Control Shift S, save that as a target file. I'm going to set it as brick text, as in brick texture 2 actually, because I've already got 1, 2. Okay, and then find that, open that, create material, put it in your folder. Okay, save that. So now we've got our material, we've got our Apex Destructible asset. You want to apply your material to the asset, and you should see it change to that material. Oops. There we go, see, now it's changed. Now, I'll show you what happens with this. But before we do that, I'm just going to go through some settings that you might want to change in here. Now, naturally in UDK, you don't start with a weapon anymore. So you want to change this to be in some kind of UT game or some other game mode that you've made, that you start with a weapon. And like I said, here I'm using the 10.12 version of UDK. I'll just show you. Wherever it is, Unreal Look, I'm using this one here because the 07 one didn't work, 0712. So, but the 10 one does, which is good. So anyway, so in the properties, you want to make sure that you've got a game mode where you can have a weapon, and then in Physx Advanced, go into Physx Properties, Primary Scene, and to reduce lag, you want to set max subsets to this as 1 or 2, just something quite low, and select Use Hardware. And for Compartment Rigid Body, do the same thing. So it's about being, set to being 1. And then that should be okay. That should reduce the amount of lag that goes on by kind of like slowing down the physics taking place. So you won't have accurate physics, but it doesn't really matter that much. So let's go ahead and test this. Should work fine. Now you won't have any explosions or anything like my first one did just yet. So if I go ahead, I shoot this, and look, it all breaks along them lines that we made back in Physx X Lab. So you could just leave it there, but say you wanted dust or something to come out every time you shot the bricks, you would open up the asset, you'd open up Content Browser, you'd right click, and you'd go New Fracture Material. There it is. And you can have up to 3 on these. So I'm going to set this as Dust Frac Map. In fact, no, I don't have a dust particle, so I'm just going to use Explosion. Explosion Frac Map. Okay, so here we have my fracture material, and here we have the properties open. If you haven't got it open, obviously just double click it. No, close that one out. So we have a fracture effect and a fracture sound. That is just one particle effect and one sound. Q. So particle systems, let's find an explosion. This one will do just fine. And I want to find a corresponding sound. So if you're using like dust, you might want to get the sound of like a bullet hitting a piece of hitting a brick, or maybe the sound of something crumbling. It really does depend on what you're doing. So here, really, I want an explosion sound. So I can't even hear any of them. Why isn't my sound playing? But it's because I got my mic plugged in. 2 seconds. Try this. What error? I don't need sound. Anyway, so yeah, click on that. Apply the sound. Close out all of this. Alright, so now we've done that, we want to go back to our file where it all is. So destructibles for me. Unclick sound cues so we can see everything. And select your, oh look, you can see there's one that I made earlier, is frac map. I'm just going to save this so it all actually works. And then apply your fracture material to your destructible asset, and it's just under Apex destructible asset in your Apex settings. So you can just have it to playing a single fracture, and like it says there, it's the one that corresponds to the destructible support depth. That doesn't really mean anything to me. I've only really just started using these, but this is something that I've learnt. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to play it again, and this time when I shoot it, it should explode. And there you go, look, it did. And it all breaks. What you could do is you can start playing around with it though, and so you can't do it here, you have to do it in Content Browser, and setting it so that it takes more damage to break. So is it brick wall test, I think? And I can set the damage threshold to being 100, damage spread to 0.075, impact damage, I can't remember what that was, meant to be low as well, impact resistance 24, and that being 3. These are just some random things that are stuck in my head for some reason. I just want to see what happens. And it has crashed my UDK. Great. Yeah, so don't bother doing that. If you've got a good enough computer, then you can do that. If you haven't, then just stick to the default values. So that is basically just how to use fracture materials. I think they were called, I can't remember, the name keeps... Oh, fracture maps in Physx X Lab. I hope this has been helpful. Any queries, just let me know.